Honda Masanobu is presented to us in the Shogun TV show as Kashigi Yabushige. Masanobu existed in the tumultuous era of the Sengoku period, marked by fierce samurai lords competing for supremacy, each aspiring to claim the coveted title of shogun, amidst a backdrop of extreme violence and upheaval. In the midst of the chaos and devastation, Honda Masanobu, a relatively insignificant daimyo, forged an alliance with Tokugawa Ieyasu and would become one of his closest friends and retainers, with the two communicating in code in many meetings to secretly communicate without others knowing. Yet, their relationship wasn't always amicable, with the two even going to war against one another at one point. The Sengoku period was a time of warlords engaging in intricate mental warfare, involving schemes, betrayals, alliances, and enemy eliminations. It was a brutal contest of psychological manipulation and conflict. Amidst this turmoil, Masanobu emerged as a prominent figure, ascending to one of the highest echelons of power in Japan. This is his story. Honda Masanobu was born in the year 1538 as the second son of Honda Toshimasa, who was the vassal of the Matsudaira family in the Mikawa province. Masanobu's father was a vassal of Matsudaira Hirotada, who was the father of Tokugawa Ieyasu, who at the time was known as Matsudaira Motoyasu, but for the sake of the video, I will refer to him as Tokugawa Ieyasu. Masanobu would grow up in a samurai family. However, when he was just a boy, the lord his family was serving, Matsudaira Hirotada, was murdered by one of his own men. It is unknown what became of Masanobu's branch of the Honda clan thereafter, but at some point, when Masanobu was in his early 20s, he would join the Iko-Iki sect. The group were devout followers of Jodo Shinshu, also known as Shin Buddhism, founded by the Japanese monk Shimran. They opposed the rule of their daimyo and samurai lords. The Iki were mainly made up of warrior monks, however there were also ronin, local lords, and peasants who followed the sect. Thanks to advancements in firearms technology during the period, the Iko-Iki movement swiftly emerged as a formidable force, posing a significant threat to the government. It became feasible for peasant or merchants to rapidly transition into skilled and mobile cannoneers within a matter of days or weeks, further amplifying the movement's potency. At the same time, Tokugawa Ieyasu, whose father was killed by his own retainers, was rebuilding his clan. He would strengthen it by rewarding his main generals with castles in the Mikawa province, notably Okubo Tayado, a samurai general, Ishikawa Kazumasa, a childhood friend of Ieyasu's and a notable warrior, and Hattori Hanzo, a famous samurai and leader of a ninja sect, to name a few. However, the Mikawa province was a major center for the Iko-Iki movement, where peasants banded together with militant monks and rejected the traditional feudal social order. Tensions between the samurai and the warrior monks had been escalating, as the Iki resisted samurai efforts to tax their temples. Ieyasu would launch a raid on their temple in Honshoji, but was defeated. Realizing this well-organized band of warrior monks were becoming a serious threat, he decided to concentrate his forces and eliminate them. This would culminate in the Battle of Azukizaka in the year 1564. Honda Masanobu, whose family were traditionally allied with Tokugawa Ieyasu and had been serving his family for generations, had allied himself with the Iko-Iki and had committed himself to the rebellion, fully embracing their way of life and perspective on feudal Japan. The battle was extremely fierce. Honda Masanobu would fight personally in the field, being 26 years old at the time. On the other side was Tokugawa Ieyasu, who was around 21 years old. Ieyasu personally led his forces into battle, confronting his enemy and engaging in frontline combat. Despite charging into gunfire and being hit several times, his wounds were not fatal and he carried on fighting. During this period, it is speculated that Masanobu suffered a leg injury that left him with a permanent limp, ultimately ending his days as a fierce warrior. Meanwhile, his adversary and former lord Ieyasu was gaining renown as a relentless warlord. Ieyasu's forces would win the battle, and his brave conduct in the midst of the carnage convinced many of the samurai turncoats to once again follow him. However, it is said that after the battle, Masanobu fled and sought refuge with Matsunaga Hisahide, the daimyo of the Yamato province. Hisahide is depicted as a shriveled and scheming old man. However, in his youth he was quite the opposite: tall, handsome, and educated, with a warrior's prowess. During Masanobu's time with Hisahide, Hisahide saw similarities between himself and the young Masanobu, and said, "There are many brave warriors in the Tokugawa family, but Masanobu is not strong, or soft, or lowly. He does not seem like an ordinary person." After parting ways with Hisahide, Masanobu embarked on a journey all over Japan, expanding his perspectives and honing his skills in assessing people, judging if their word was true or not, and navigating various social environments. It was Tadayo Okubo who extended a helping hand to Masanobu during this time. He would welcome and care for Masanobu's wife and children. In the year 1569, Tadayo mediated between Masanobu and Ieyasu, recognizing the value of Masanobu's talents and the potential they held. Ieyasu would allow him to re-enter his service. At this time, Masanobu was 32 years old and would have an emotional reconciliation with Ieyasu. During this time, Oda Nobunaga was the most powerful daimyo in all Japan. In the year 1573, his Oda forces defeated the shogun's army and destroyed the power of the ruling Ashikaga clan. As a result, the shogun was exiled, bringing the Ashikaga shogunate to an end, leading Nobunaga to become the de facto ruler of Japan. However, in the year 1582, Oda Nobunaga was slain at the Honnoji incident, along with his eldest son and heir Oda Nobutada. This would spark a succession crisis within the Oda clan, with all Nobunaga's remaining sons wanting to take his mantle, along with some of his former generals. Notably, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, a rising samurai general who had avenged his fallen lord by killing Akechi Mitsuhide, Nobunaga's trusted general who betrayed him in the Honnoji incident. By doing this, Hideyoshi had positioned himself as Nobunaga's successor, claiming to act as a regent of sorts until Nobunaga's grandson, Oda Hidenobu, who was just a boy, would come of age. Oda Nobunaga's second surviving son, Oda Nobukatsu, was invited to Osaka Castle by Hideyoshi to pay homage to him, which would officially reverse the roles in power between Hideyoshi and Nobukatsu. Nobukatsu, however, did not attend, and he executed some of his retainers he thought had gone over to Hideyoshi's side. These deeds provided Hideyoshi with the pretext to launch an assault on Nobukatsu. Consequently, Nobukatsu sought support from Tokugawa Ieyasu, which resulted in the Komaki campaign, in which Masanobu would fight in. Many battles would be fought, however they were fruitless, with no side gaining the upper hand. Hideyoshi, Ieyasu and Nobukatsu would make peace in the end, and Hideyoshi retained his position as the most powerful daimyo in all Japan. During this time, Masanobu would successfully negotiate and appeal to several daimyos, to join the service of the Tokugawa clan. He showed his abilities in administration and became a bureaucrat and was highly valued by Ieyasu. Masanobu's close relative was the famous samurai Honda Tadakatsu, who is remembered to history as the warrior who surpassed death itself, due to him never receiving a wound in battle. On the other hand, Masanobu would be mocked by military men behind his back, being called the man with rotten guts, as he was compared with his kinsman Tadakatsu. However, Ieyasu remembered the prowess of Masanobu in his youth, before his devastating injury, and valued his abilities as a bureaucrat. Ieyasu and Masanobu developed a relationship of reciprocal understanding when in a social setting, regarding negotiation or politics. When Ieyasu made a request, Masanobu would pretend to fall asleep, or be completely disinterested if he disagreed, but he would offer abundant praise if he did agree. Masanobu's intellect and ability to hide the intentions of his master Ieyasu earned him admiration from both Tokugawa Ieyasu and his inner circle. When Masanobu would feign sleep, Ieyasu would often change his mind, valuing Masanobu's decisions, reflecting that the two former enemies had developed a good friendship and a lot of trust, even during this time of betrayal, schemes and war. Masanobu was so good at negotiation and thinking ahead that he became known to some as Ieyasu's brain, with the two men gaining a significant reputation for their wisdom and tactical thinking. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the Chancellor of the realm and the most powerful man in Japan, would die in the year 1598, creating another power vacuum, similar to the one after Oda Nobunaga's death. As he lay on his deathbed, Hideyoshi established a regency government, known as the Council of Five Elders, to ensure the succession of his 5-year-old heir Hideyori once he reached maturity. With Hideyoshi's passing, orders were issued for the Japanese forces in Korea to withdraw back to Japan. However, Hideyoshi's eradication of his own family left his clan vulnerable, and the growing power of Tokugawa Ieyasu began to raise concerns among the remaining Council of Elders, uncertain of his allegiance to the Toyotomi government. Following Hideyoshi's demise, two main factions emerged, one led by Tokugawa Ieyasu, and the other, rallying the loyalists of the Toyotomi clan, was Ishida Mitsunari. As tensions escalated, the death of the esteemed council member Maeda Toshi further destabilized the situation. Tokugawa Ieyasu seized the opportunity to recruit members of the Toyotomi clan, capitalizing on their weakened influence in the absence of adult male heirs. Mitsunari, owing allegiance to the Toyotomi cause, exploited the ensuing chaos to forge an alliance to challenge Ieyasu's supporters. Mitsunari gathered Toyotomi loyalists, including Otani Yoshisugu, renowned for his military prowess, Mashita Nagamori, a former diplomat, and Onkokoji Ekei, a military monk and descendant of the Takeda clan. Together, they formed the Western Army, extending an invitation to Mori Teramoto, head of the Mori clan, to lead them from Osaka Castle, which became their stronghold. Meanwhile, numerous daimyo pledged allegiance to Tokugawa Ieyasu, forming the Eastern Army. Masanobu would be among these daimyo. This would eventually culminate in the Battle of Sekigahara in the year 1600. Ieyasu's son Hidetada would lead a contingent of samurai, and Masanobu would join him. However, Hidetada's forces were bogged down as he attempted to besiege Saneda Masuyuki's Ueda castle against his father's direct orders, culminating in the siege of Ueda. Even though the Tokugawa forces numbered some 38,000, an overwhelming advantage over Saneda's mere 2,000, they were still unable to capture the famous strategist's well-defended position, forcing Masanobu and Ieyasu's son Hidetada to arrive late to the main battle. Nevertheless, Ieyasu's forces proved victorious, and the Western army commanded by Ishida Mitsunari was destroyed, with the leaders being executed. Legend has it that following the conclusion of the Battle of Sekigahara in the year 1601, Honda Masanobu engaged in negotiations with the imperial court to secure the appointment of Tokugawa Ieyasu as the shogun. Through his endeavours, Tokugawa Ieyasu ascended to the position of shogun, marking a new period in Japanese history. Although it seemed that all of Ieyasu's enemy daimyo were either now his allies or were dead, there was one threat remaining to his rule, and that was the son of his old ally, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, named Toyotomi Hideyori, influenced by his mother Yodo Dono's desire to restore the Toyotomi clan to its former glory. Hideyori garnered support from numerous samurai who opposed Ieyasu, asserting his claim as the legitimate ruler of Japan. Despite Ieyasu's command for Hideyori to vacate Osaka Castle, its occupants defied the order and rallied samurai to assemble within its walls. In the year 1614, Ieyasu initiated a siege against Osaka Castle in an effort to quell Hideyori's resistance and eliminate the threat to his rule. Honda Masanobu would also take part in the siege, commanding his forces to support the shogunate. Ultimately, in the latter part of the year 1615, Osaka Castle succumbed to the siege. The castle was bombarded with cannon fire and was consumed by flames. Toyotomi Hideyori, whose father was once the most powerful man in Japan, committed seppuku alongside his mother Yodo Dono. The two were then devoured by the inferno of Osaka Castle. Their bodies were never found, thus extinguishing the Toyotomi line. With their demise, there were no longer any threats to the Tokugawa's dominion over Japan. Even after successfully unifying Japan, Ieyasu's health began to deteriorate. Throughout the one-year campaign against the Toyotomi clan and its allies, he sustained wounds that notably reduced his lifespan. Approximately 1 year later, on June the 1st in the year 1616, Tokugawa Ieyasu would pass away at the age of 73, entrusting the shogunate to his descendants. Ieyasu's close friend Masanobu would follow him to the grave around 50 days after Ieyasu's death, living to 79 years old. He would be remembered as one of Ieyasu's most loyal retainers, a great thinker, judge of character, and negotiator. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all soon for another History Profile.